Reddit, a social media platform used to post about whatever users desire. With this privilege, however, allows more darker things to be posted and exposed. Every social media platform is like this nevertheless, with subreddits made to joke around, to ask for advice, or to congregate on more sinister subjects. There's always something strange you'll find up here. Today we'll be taking a dive on a post that I found on the RBI subreddit, the Reddit Bureau of Investigation. This is their story. On July 7th, 2022, at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time, a Redditor of the name LuluBell2K would make a post on the RBI subreddit with the title, "Friend is dead and the police may be complicit." Their post reads as follows. "Hello all, it's afternoon for me, but this has been on my mind for some time. The trail has gone cold and the majority of his family have since given up on the search, so I figure I'd ask around here. For context, I'm currently 26. I was 22 when this happened, so it's been a fair while since everything transpired. I need to clarify by stating that I'm looking for help in finding him. Me, alongside his family and former colleagues, all agree that he is likely deceased at this point in time. Regardless, I do want clarity on what happened. I came from a less than wealthy background. I'm not going to dump my whole story here, but my mom was unemployed and my dad was struggling to keep a failing business afloat. I worked part-time in fast food and eventually moved out at 20 to live with a friend from high school. I'll be referring to him as Hector throughout this post. I'd like to keep this post PG, but there's no two ways of saying this. Hector was a mean guy, gave twice as hard as he took and wouldn't stand for BS if he saw it. He wasn't in contact with any of his family, and as far as friends go, I was his only one. He never expressed any interest in college or finding a girlfriend or anything. He was a social outcast and violent too, but not in the way that made him intimidating. He was the type of person you'd want around if you were out late. Man was a good soul. If you got on his good side, he'd treat you out to meals and show you some of his albums. Dude loved collecting them on the disc. Aside from music and frequenting the gym, he didn't have a whole lot of hobbies. Around June 2018 was when he disappeared. I came home from work to discover he wasn't there. He usually hit the gym at around 9, so I assumed he left the apartment a little early. I popped him a quick text and got myself some dinner ready. The night it happened was a Friday, which was admittedly my usual night for drinking. I was hardly a heavy drinker, neither was he, so I was surprised to see that I was down a bottle. Hector only drank on special occasions, and he never drank before gym. That night left me feeling incredibly paranoid until it hit 3 a.m. the following morning, where I called up the police. I didn't have a whole lot to tell them, and as far as I was aware, the missing bottle was the only clue left behind from his disappearance. Not a lot changed after several weeks and several police visits, but around mid-July I got a text from an unknown number, asking me if I was still at the apartment. I didn't answer it immediately, because if he wanted to talk, he would have at least asked to call. For someone who had generally been pretty expressive of his compassion, it seemed really out of character for him to just text me like that. I took the evidence to police, and they decided to take my phone for the investigation. I never got it or the SIM card back. The next few weeks following this would be nothing short of hell. I made contact with his family and some of his workmates to fish for evidence. We put together a rudimentary sleeve containing what little evidence we had, and once again took to the police. We did this on at least 3 separate occasions, and every single time, the evidence would be taken and kept from us. After those few unsuccessful attempts, we tried getting a hold of the unknown number that had texted me. I'd written it down after the first text, so I had it on record. By this point, I'd gone and gotten a new phone. Me, his mom, and a few of his colleagues all texted the number, and no one got anything back except for one of his colleagues, with a text that simply read, "Stay inside." The next month, his mom's house would be inundated by a flood of unmarked vehicles parking outside her house several times a day endlessly, often blocking the driveway so she couldn't back out. At this point, his workmates all dipped, and nothing else would come of the search for years. Until February of this year. One of his colleagues messaged me to ask about if I do sewing commissions. For a time I was pretty active in the cosplay community, and even made Hector some clothes on occasion when we'd been too broke to get stuff ourselves. I told him no, and after a few minutes of waiting, he got back to me with an image. It was a screenshot, and in the background was someone wearing a hoodie, one I instantly recognized because I made it. The person wearing it wasn't Hector though. I tried messaging the account owner about it, and they said the cameo was just an incidental happening. I tried going back to the post a week or two later, and it was gone. That leads us to now. His mom has officially moved out of Fresno and is now living elsewhere. I don't have contact with any of his colleagues, and his other family members have all lost hope in finding out what happened. There wasn't a single report of his disappearance on TV or in the newspaper, and there was no discussion of it online. It's best to keep a cool head, but I'm pissed here. I have nothing to go on, and I'm the end of my rope. He was the only guy I've ever known who was okay just being friends with me, and I haven't been able to get past this since. Why would police intentionally withhold evidence and avoid searching? Is this a common occurrence? I'm losing my mind trying to figure out where to go from here. Any advice is greatly appreciated. Redditors would begin to give their opinions and takes as to what possibly could have happened to Hector and how to find him. A comment that stood out to me that I found to be good questions that were asked to LuluBell2K was from a user named OtherV. Their comment is as follows. Yes, police do botch investigations, sometimes deliberately and sometimes due to incompetence, overload, or laziness, but it's not possible to ascertain that's what happened here without more information. Was there a missing persons report filed for him? Is it still active? When you refer to the police withholding evidence, are you referring to them not returning the evidence you presented them with, or not letting you know how the investigation is progressing? Or is there something else? When you say nothing changed after a few police visits, do you mean they visited you at the apartment, in which case it does sound as if they were looking for him, or you visited them? What are you hoping people here can help you with? You say you're not looking for help in finding him, but it seems to me that finding him alive or dead is essential to knowing what happened to him. It's unlikely that someone who knows what happened will stumble on this post, work out who you're talking about from the clues here, and tell you. If I were you, I would start with contacting the police and asking about the status of the investigation, and trying to get back in touch with the colleague who messaged you a few months ago and asking why they sent you the screenshot. The hoodie may be a clue or it may be nothing. Do you know what happened to his possessions after he went missing? Did he leave that particular hoodie, the one you made, behind? Or might he have been wearing it? Or could his mother, or whoever got his stuff after his disappearance, have donated it or given it away? I think OtherV asks very good questions here. Particularly the biggest question I found to be the most important was there a missing persons report filed for him and is it still active question. This would be a start into knowing if the police are treating this case importantly by labeling it as a missing persons case. Some advice I also like that OtherV gave was, if I were you, I would start with contacting the police and asking about the status of the investigation and trying to get back in touch with a colleague who messaged you a few months ago and asking why they sent you the screenshot. By doing this, LuluBell2K could figure out if the case is still being looked at or if the case has gone cold, as well as finding out more information about the screenshot that was sent. About 15 minutes later, LuluBell2K will reply to OtherV stating, "Sorry for my lack of clarity here. I was a little scatterbrained since I wrote this after work. By withholding of evidence, I meant both. We received no updates, and none of our devices, which contain crucial information, were returned to us. We visited the station several times, but they were often dismissive or otherwise nonchalant about the situation. I'm really just here to figure out if their behavior may have been indicative of anything. By the way, thank you for your condolences and advice. You kind of forget how much that stuff means when you don't hear it a lot anymore. It means more than you know." If what LuluBell2K is saying is true, and the police are not updating them, then this is obviously a problem for them finding out what happened to their friend. Another Redditor gave a good move LuluBell2K could make with their advice stating, "Go in and don't ask about a case in particular. Ask for an evidence return form. There will be a specific process for this. If they return it, you'll know the investigation is closed. If not, you'll have a little more info." This is good advice. LuluBell2K could do this to figure out if the investigation is still ongoing and being worked on by the police, or if the investigation stopped being worked on. However, this raised an obvious question from a Redditor, with them asking, "Interesting, if the case is simply old, with no resolution and no progress or activity for several years, would law enforcement ever classify it as closed?" I found this to be a valid question, as LuluBell2K had previously stated that they were currently 26 and they were 22 when their friend went missing. My personal thought on this is I find it odd that law enforcement gave absolutely no update to LuluBell2K as to the situation of their friend in the span of 4 years. Of course, there can and are cases that last much longer than this and are still ongoing today out in the world, so due to this no information can be given publicly, but it's just a thought I had. Let's continue. Another Redditor also gave some good advice by stating, If it was a sim with a carrier where OP used their personal data to register, wouldn't it be possible to contact the company/carrier and request information regarding the text OP received? This was a very good point to bring up as to finding out more information about the odd text LuluBell2K was receiving regarding their missing friend. LuluBell2K could contact the sim carrier for logs of the text received and possibly gain more information as to their friend's whereabouts. Most smartphones today, depending on your sim carrier, have a cloud for backing up such information, such as the Verizon Cloud, AT&T Personal Cloud, etc. Some other Redditors also suggested hiring a PI, a private investigator, which could definitely get LuluBell2K more answers for their friend's current status. Another Redditor made a good point with them stating, "Is it possible he might have been put into witness protection? It would explain why the police didn't move forward with the investigation or publicize anything." This is a valid point. If LuluBell2K's friend went into witness protection, it could explain why there has been no update on their friend. At 8:16 p.m. Eastern on the same day, LuluBell2K would reply to this stating, "We did consider that avenue for a little bit, but it's not really something we can look into. I figure it's better off we look at the easier things to investigate. Witness protection is tighter than a nun's. If he's really in some program like that, no way we're finding out much." This can be a valid point, but if I were OP and I had a missing friend for 4 years, I wouldn't throw any possible solution out the window as to how to find my missing friend. Sure, we're talking about witness protection here and the chances of finding information through this is lacking, but this is also just a thought I had. Another Redditor would back up my thought here with them stating, "Witness protection is a possibility, but it's my understanding that witness protection is extremely rare and it is nothing like what is portrayed in Hollywood. It also seems likely that given Hector's temperament that he would not last very long before contacting someone." This last sentence talking about Hector's temperament is something that is also a good thing to bring up. Due to this trait Hector has, within 4 years, I find it very unlikely that Hector wouldn't have contacted someone within this time frame. Another Redditor defended the possibility that the law enforcement involved in this case were being complacent about the case, as adult missing person cases tend to be, with them also asking if he had a criminal record or a car. This is also a good point to bring up. If Hector has a criminal record, this could impact the direction that the investigation could go. However, about 30 minutes later, LuluBell2K would reply with, "Far as I knew, no criminal record. We could never really afford a car, and most places we had to go to were within walking distance anyway. I can't imagine anyone would have wanted to hurt him, but then again, I didn't know a whole lot about his life outside our little bubble. I have thought maybe he ran in with someone bad. He had a tendency to be hot-headed." Interesting. Another Redditor would also give some good advice stating, "You could run a background check to see if he has any new addresses or jobs. If he took off and knows he can't contact anyone, you might be able to ping him that way. You could also check the gym. There is usually a chain typically you can see if he went to other locations. Did anyone try to triangulate his phone at the time he disappeared? Is it possible he was involved in drugs buying or selling? If you get into a distributor deep enough, it's likely you'll go missing eventually." Great advice and points were made here. LuluBell2K could do a background check to see if he has bought a new home at any new addresses or new jobs Hector could have been employed at. However, about 20 minutes later, LuluBell2K would reply with, "I've checked quite frequently since his initial disappearance, but no dice. The gym was a local business and closed down during the pandemic. I'm fairly certain one of his workmates attempted to locate his phone a few times, but no dice. As for drugs, he was adamantly against them. He was huge on body health and taking care of yourself. Only thing I can imagine him selling is steroids. And even then that would be a stretch. He boasted about being natty quite a lot." About a day later at 1:17 a.m. Eastern, another Redditor also asked a valid question regarding the situation about the screenshot. Their comment asked, "I'm curious about the friend who sent the screenshot. Where was the screenshot taken from? How did the friend randomly come across the screenshot? What did they have to say?" These are valid questions. My thought on this is if they can find the original picture that was taken, it's possible by looking at the metadata of the screenshot, they may find the location where the picture was taken. LuluBell2K would reply to this about 20 minutes later with, Influencer he followed posted the pic and he recognized the fit. Was curious if I sold my work to other people, hence why he messaged me. This is where Redditor started to question the authenticity of this post, with the previous Redditor who asked the question replying with, "So the person was just in the background of an influencer's photo? Crazy." Following up with another Redditor stating, "Crazy is one way to put it, completely made up and implausible is another." And another, r/creative writing. Exactly my thoughts. Yeah, I'm going to have to side with the skeptics here. I find it very odd that their missing friend's hoodie for almost 4 years just suddenly reappears on someone else in the background of a photo taken by an influencer. However, I digress. Let's continue. A more sinister approach that another Redditor would make would be, or maybe OP isn't being completely truthful and Hector is avoiding them on purpose for a wide variety of possible reasons. This is also a good theory here. It is possible that Hector may have ghosted and left OP here due to a good reason and LuluBell2K is trying to find them for whatever knows what reason. So after all of this, you're probably wondering, what is the update to LuluBell2K situation regarding their friend? Were they ever found? Are they still missing? Well, on July 13th, 2022, at 7:34 p.m. Eastern Time, LuluBell2K would make a new post stating an update. Update, friend is dead and the police may be complicit. But there's a problem here. The original post had been removed by the moderators on the RBI subreddit. Strange. I did a bit more digging and using the Wayback Machine, which is a website that has archives of basically anything on the internet, I luckily found the post archived before it was deleted. The post is as follows. Blessings to everyone here on Reddit. You were all a huge help. Unfortunately, Hector is legally declared dead. No long drawn out post, no rant. He was a sweet guy who knew how to kick. And even though I saw it coming, I'm sad he's gone. Rest in peace, Hector. I'll be pouring out one to you tomorrow. I won't be answering any questions in relation to his passing or the activity of the Fresno Police Department. Thank you again for your advice and take care. Sure, it's fair that OP doesn't have to elaborate as to what happened to their friend. However, I find it very odd that they made a whole post asking for help on advice as to how they can find their friend, and specifically make it clear they will not be updating anyone as to what happened to him other than dying. In my opinion, this seems like an easy way out of a story that was fabricated from the beginning. The top comment on this update brought up very good points, with them stating, "Police won't roll a fully grown adult legally dead without some form of evidence that would imply that, foul play, blood, etc. But if that was the case, then they would have declared him dead a long time ago by this point, which makes your first post seem very questionable in authenticity, seeing as you went to the cops numerous times. Your first post also included a lot of information that really wasn't necessary to read and felt like you were making a story for dramatic purposes, which is rather to the contrary to this post where it's just, he's dead, no explanation, bye, which I find strange. Overall, I have no evidence to say that OP is talking BS, but I definitely say that they have raised some red flags and people should be cautious of them. Yeah, going to have to agree with this one. If Hector was found dead, there would have been evidence as to his passing and how he passed, which law enforcement would have updated OP on much earlier about. Some would defend OP with what I stated earlier, the possibility that OP could just be grieving about their friend and wishes to not elaborate about their dead friend. Some others would also give their condolences about OP's deceased friend. After taking a quick look on LuluBell2K's post history on their profile, these two posts would be their last post before complete inactivity on their account. This doesn't seem to be an obvious throwaway account as they made some posts previously in other subreddits. But this does raise the question that if this was all true, why would LuluBell2K just up and vanish from Reddit after their situation became closed and solved? Was it either to make an easy cop-out from a fabricated story, or did they wish to move on? My personal opinion on this is I think this post is fake. With OP's lack of follow-up on many of other Redditors' questions, giving unlikely reactions as to how someone in this reaction would really act in the real world, and their very short and easy way of leaving this is why I think this. However, if LuluBell2K's situation regarding Hector is all true, and their friend truly ended up turning up dead, then obviously my condolences go out to them for losing a friend. Did you think LuluBell2K was telling the truth, or did you think they fabricated a story for attention and some Reddit karma on their profile? Let me know what you think of this in the comments below, but as always,
have a nice day.